Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast. I'm your host this week. I'm Colin Armstrong, and I'll be with you for the next hour or so as we look back at the weekend's action. Excuse me, guys. I've just I forgot to mute there. We'll be looking at the weekend action there against Hamilton yesterday. We'll also be looking at some of the stuff that's came out from the Kilmarnock game last week, particularly the Stevie Clark controversy. Now, if you're listening into the podcast for the first time, it's episode 33 of the Gersnet Podcast. It's the second live edition. We went live last week for the first time. So if it's your first time listening, please contribute via the comment section on YouTube. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please do that. You know, we're always looking for people to subscribe and also share on social media, your Twitter, your Facebook, all those kind of things. If you've enjoyed the podcast tonight, the live stream, it will be available to stream or download after tonight. So it's not just tonight, you know, you can get it later on down the line. It will be available on a number of platforms: Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, and Stitching. So joining me tonight, we have the Gersnet Podcast gaffer. We have Stuart Franklin. How are we doing, Stuart?
I'm very well, mate. I'm just laughing at you calling it.
I forgot to mute. I know. After the disaster from last night as well.
And you calling it Stitching? It's Stitcher, no Stitching.
Well, I've got Stitching down here.
I'd seen that earlier, but I deliberately didn't correct you because I wanted to embarrass you.
Well, you succeeded. It's always good to have you on the show.
Thanks, mate.
Did you get many comments last week after your male version of a MILF comment?
I didn't, surprisingly. I think too many people know what I look like already to know that I was being a bit economical with the truth.
It was chronic patter, to be fair. But there we go. It sort of died in its arse a wee bit. But there we are. Also joining us tonight, we've got David Fraser. How are you, David? Long time no speak. Anytime you want to come in, David.
How you doing, guys? Sorry about
that. It was seamless, honestly. Seamless. No one noticed. Seamless. Absolutely no one noticed.
So how you doing? It's been a while, guys. How you both doing? Not too bad, thanks, Colin. Not too bad. I've just been busy. I've had basically life in the road, but I've still been watching the games.
Were you there on Sunday?
Ready to go.
Were you at the game on Sunday?
No, I couldn't make it. No, I was away house hunting. How about yourself?
I wasn't there. No, I watched it. I watched it on the TV, and it was a fairly comprehensive victory. To be fair, you know, you always worry about these games, but no, it was a fairly easy game in the long run. So we'll have a wee look at that game now. You know, 5-0, an absolute. It was a scoosh in the end, really, wasn't it? You know, the game was effectively done at 2-0 and done by half time. It's a fixture that normally brings goals for Rangers. I was there last season at Hamilton. I think it finished 5-3. Rangers haven't lost an away game to Hamilton since the mid-50s. And of course, there was 5 different scorers, which was good given, you know, the sort of recent accusation that, you know, we're overly dependent on Alfredo Morelos. Stevie G, it made 3 changes to starting 11. Stuart, Defoe was in for the suspended Morelos. Halliday was in for Barisic. McGregor returned after suspension. He replaced Wes in goal. I was going to talk about Halliday and the Barisic thing because I'm starting to feel that Halliday is actually becoming a better option at left back than Barisic.
I don't think you'd be the only one. I think if you compare the two of them, Barisic is probably the better player, probably the more natural left back. But there's no doubt this season that Halliday's a player transformed, and we can really rely on him to step into the team and do the business. And he certainly done that on Sunday. He was up and down the park. He was physical where he needed to be. He helped create chances. He was defensively sound, and as always, very keen. I mean, he scored a good goal as well as soon as he came on in midweek against Kilmarnock, and it's not something that Barisic has really showed us yet. His goal scoring, it tends to stay a lot wider, doesn't come inside very often, and certainly doesn't get into the centre of the park. I mean, Halliday did that as well away at Cowdenbeath, you remember. So I think Halliday is definitely saying to the manager, it'll be hard to drop me.
David, I don't know how you feel about this. The game that sort of I've started to think about retrospectively was actually the Celtic game, but where I felt Halliday set the tone. You know, with that tackle in the first couple of minutes, was it on Edouard? I can't remember who it was on, but you know, and his performance that day was outstanding. Now, Barisic's form, I think, has dipped a little bit, especially his delivery into the box. That was something I thought was always really good from him. That seems to be slipping recently. And he looks, I don't know, he just looks like he's hiding at times. And I've actually asked the question myself, if Barisic had played that day against Celtic, would the result have been the same?
It's difficult to call that one. I can hear what both of you guys are saying with regards to Halliday and Barisic. I'll be honest, Borna Barisic, certainly since he was injured, he's been pretty underwhelming, truth be told. I hear what you're saying with regards to his crossing, Colin. He tends to cross from deep, and a lot of the times he's either over-hitting the crosses or they're hitting the first defender. And to be honest, I'm looking at him, even though he's not frightened to tackle, he doesn't seem as if he fancies the physical fight. Not to the same extent that a player kind of reared in Scottish football would be. There doesn't seem to be a natural aggression though. Andy Halliday, I mean, he tries. He's up for it. He's still kind of slow in the ball at times. Although yesterday you seen when he decides to move forward, and he thinks clearly and he's single-minded, then he can shift, and he's not too bad in the ball. But whether you can speculate if Rangers would have been beaten by Celtic had Barisic's played, I'm not too sure on that one.
Sure. We're going to the game itself now. I thought the first 10-15 minutes Rangers looked really, really hungry. 60 minutes in, Ryan Jack gets a goal. Again, going back to the Celtic game, I think the Celtic game was the first goal that Ryan Jack scored for the club, and I think he scored 2 or 3 since. You know, and I think Steven Gerrard said after the game he's been encouraging, you know, the midfield players to shoot from outside the penalty box. I think the feeling was, you know, we were trying to walk it in at times. Do you think Ryan Jack can offer more on the goal scoring front? Because over the last 2 or 3 weeks, that certainly seems to be the case.
Aye, I don't see why not. Obviously, since Kamara's came to the team, Jack tends to play a wee bit further forward. It's the same when McCrory plays, and I think he's quite effective. It doesn't seem like he's got to be the player that will make the defence cut and pass. I don't think he'll probably stride forward and not one in the top corner like what Gerrard used to do for Liverpool either. But I think he's shown that he can hit the ball well enough in and around that area. His passing is usually good. His positioning is good. I think that's one of the most positive parts of Jack's game is he reads the game really well, and it's not often he's in the wrong position. He's always there to receive the ball, and he seems to know where it's going and where he should be. And if anything, he just does that sort of water carrying just a wee bit further forward. And I mean, I don't think he's done much wrong lately, Jack. I think he's a really good player. I think, as I say, it's been quite surprising that he's actually started to chip in with goals, because I've never really seen him as that type of player. But I think the manager does. Or certainly has faith in him to be that type of player, and so far at least he's shown that he could be. So I'm pretty confident he can add to it. Certainly the goal he scored on Saturday was a great finish. I mean, I think a few of the commentators were saying that the goalkeeper was a bit culpable. Probably fair comment, but to be fair, also the ball came through 2 or 3 defenders and it bounced right in front of the keeper. So as a former goalie myself, I'll defend the guy Woods and say that it was a better strike rather than a goalkeeping error. So the more Jack can do that, certainly the better for us.
And the same with Arfield as well, surely, Stuart. You know, he got a goal as well on Sunday. You know, going back to this accusation that, you know, we're overly reliant at times on Morelos, which was kind of shown a wee bit on the Wednesday night, the Killie game, which we'll come on to. Surely if the boys from the middle of the park are chipping in, it's better all round.
Aye, definitely. I think they have to be, and I think I mentioned in the pod before that we didn't score enough goals from outside the box. So it's been good to see us actually starting to shoot a bit quicker and a bit earlier. You're not going to score every time, but as the old cliche goes, if you didn't buy a ticket, you'll not win the raffle. So, I mean, sometimes they'll go miles over the bar, they'll go miles wide, they'll hit a defender, but other times they'll go in. I mean, in Arfield's goal, again, great strike, bit of a tape hunt for the edge of the box, and the goalkeeper didn't have a chance. So it was a bit of,
no. Surely it was Lacey's.
Well,
a top one. Lacey's.
No fun. I'd have to get a super slow mo. Maybe
these goalkeepers, honest to God, you've not got a clue about striking a ball.
Maybe we could ask Jonathan Sutherland and the guys at Sportscene.
Aye, trial by Sportscene.
And actually show us a close up of a Rangers goal and discuss the quality of the strike rather than discussing banners and songs. And
I suppose Jonathan Sutherland could ask Stephen Gerrard. No, he can't. He's not allowed to. Oh well, there we go. David. Defoe, in between Ryan Jack and Arfield scoring, Defoe got the second, 25 seconds after the restart for Ryan Jack's goal, straight up the park, 2-0 down. Now, there's been a wee bit of sort of criticism towards, the transfer business in January. At the time, we all thought it was great. Obviously, Stephen Davis hasn't quite hit the ground running. And Defoe's come in for a wee bit of criticism as well. But the way I view it is, Sadiq was here from the summer till January and was a lump of wood and didn't play, let alone score. We've already got 4 goals out of Defoe, so even though he's not firing all cylinders, surely he's a step up from Sadiq, and based on that alone, is a good move for Rangers.
Aye, definitely. The only query I've got regarding it is how much we're paying his wages, how much his wages we're actually paying, but. The main thing for me, I'm going to go back in time here to a couple of Saturdays back with the St Johnstone game. I mean, I don't know what was happening there. They were shelling high balls up to a guy of 5'8", and they never really played to Jermaine's strengths. And that leads me on to what, up until yesterday, and to a lesser extent in Wednesday in the Cup replay, but you're back to the same old chestnut about creating chances. I mean, Defoe, even though he's 36 and he's maybe lost a yard his electric pace when he was probably firing on all cylinders when he was at Spurs, he plays in the shoulder. He needs somebody to thread a ball through him, and then you'll get goals out of Jermaine Defoe. But I mean, that's his 4th goal now, and he's doing the job that we brought him to do. Obviously, I mean, he's not played a lot of football, so. Same with Stephen Davis, you're asking guys that are ring rusty to come in and hit the ground running, and it's playing for Rangers. You guys know yourselves. It brings that different level of pressure. You'd expect every move you make in the park is scrutinised. If you don't, pull something off to 100% of your ability, there's always question marks over what you might have done, what you could have done, what you should have done, that kind of stuff. But I'll come a bit of slack. I think we may well see, assuming he stays fit, I think we may well see the best of Jermaine after the split, assuming we're still in the hunt, which, obviously being 8 points behind might not necessarily be the case if we slip up again and Celtic don't slip up. So, but aye, he's doing what we're paying him to do, and that's score goals.
Is there an argument to say he works better in, a partnership rather than as the lone striker? Because I've heard a lot of people saying that he can't work in that role.
Aye, well, it's horses for courses in many respects, Colin, but I still maintain we're not the greatest at creating chances. Yesterday was and harking back to last Wednesday night, they were exceptions to the rule. I mean, that's two games in the bounce we've scored heavily. Obviously the Kilmarnock game, a lot of that was down to Alfie himself being sharp. Yesterday was a wee bit different insofar as they were shooting outside the box, as Stuart's already mentioned, and there was a wee bit of chance creation. But I think you've got to factor in how poor Hamilton were yesterday.
Yeah, they were poor. They're a poor side, I think.
I mean, mean, Brian Rice has come out and waxed lyrical about how good Rangers were. And to be fair, credit where credit's due, Rangers had stepped it up. They'd taken Wednesday night's performance into the game on Sunday, and they had definitely upped the tempo. But against lesser quality, I think the manager said that we looked a step above Hamilton yesterday, and that was borne out by the result. We were just sharper all over the pitch. And I think yes, let's give credit where credit's due. The boys did well yesterday, but I think you've got to factor in the fact how poor Hamilton were.
Sure. After the Rangers went 3-0 up, there was a penalty claim for Hamilton with Andy Halliday. Now, in the usual sort of contrived way, they tried to sort of manufacture a wee bit of controversy around it. Did you think it was a penalty?
No, same with the Worrell one in the second half. I think both their feet was high. That's fair enough, but I think they both got the ball fairly and squarely well before they anywhere near the man, and I don't think there was much in them. In fact, the Worrell one in the second half, I thought the guy was offside. They played the ball through initially. It was tight, but as usual, BT didn't want to show a replay of that or mention that. It was all about trying to manufacture Rangers' opposition being hard done by. No, it wasn't a penalty. Neither were penalties in my opinion.
I did notice with the second one that Cragen tried to make a comparison between that and Power's tackle on Ryan Jack and suggested that Worrell should have been sent off because that's what we were looking for. But I don't recall Cragen saying that Ryan Jack should have been sent off during that game. You know, so, no, sorry, Ryan Jack. Power should have been sent off. So it's
exactly.
It's that sort of double standards, and they're not even trying to hide it. You know what I mean? They're just there's two examples where Cragen has taken different opinions on both of them.
And they're two different incidents. Ryan Jack with the fella Power. Jack won the ball, and Power followed through and caught him in the head.
Yeah.
Whereas Worrell and Halliday both got the ball well before any contact with the other player. And whether their boots were high, but I thought they got the ball fairly squarely, and I don't think there was anything in them. I don't think it would have been the end of the world if I gave a penalty, especially for the Worrell one. I might have not complained too much, but as I say, it's all this fake offence and fake controversy. It's bloody annoying, to be honest.
Yeah, that's something that gets me. It seems now that, I mean, obviously when you're at the game, when I'm at Ibrox and I see at Ibrox, you're not watching, you know, in terms of hearing commentators and stuff like that. So you don't get that same thing. But it feels like any time I watch Rangers on the telly now, you can't get through 90 minutes without some form of manufactured controversy at the end of it, and it's becoming pretty tedious, you know. But I suppose that's the world we live in. But it feels a bit one-sided to me. David, coming back to yourself, penalty for Rangers just before half-time. Ziggy Gordon wiped out Ryan Kent. I have to say, I think Ziggy Gordon's, that's the best name in Scottish football. As a David Bowie fan, I love anybody that's called Ziggy. But in terms of the challenge itself, Stonewaller?
I would say it's a penalty, aye. Put it this way, if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to the two incidents that Stuart's just been illustrating there. I take his point about whether both players won the ball first, but can I ask both of you guys, I mean, if the shoe was in the other foot, would you be shouting for a penalty in both instances for the Hamilton claims?
The first one with Andy Halliday, I thought no. The second one, I think could have been.
No,
I would have been shouting for the win.
No, I wouldn't have been. I don't think. I think it's a man's game. It was Worrell won the ball. He was there quicker, bit physical. His foot was definitely high. I'm not going to disagree, but I'd be embarrassed if we got a penalty for that.
Fair enough. It's a game of opinions. I'm only thinking that, you know, that we might be in danger of getting slightly paranoid because we've been. It's almost we're bordering on being indoctrinated into this agenda that's basically been led by BBC Scotland against Rangers, and other media outlets are picking up on it and thinking it's it's open season. You know, we're pretty safe on pretty safe ground, but Aye, Ziggy Gordon, back to the original question, Colin. I think it was a penalty, but in days gone by, 20 years ago, would that have been given as a penalty?
No, I think he's wiped on it. Kent's nipped the ball in and Gordon's come in about 3 seconds later and wiped him out. So, no, I mean, it was one of the ones actually, I think because people follow the ball, you know what I mean? And because he came in so late, no one claimed for it. But no, I thought it was a stone wall. Going back to the Andy Halliday one, I think that one, a key point of that claim is the boy that was fouled, I can't remember who it was, never claimed. He just got on with it. So I think in that respect, you have to always kind of look at the reaction of the player that has allegedly been fouled, and he just got on with it. He never claimed for anything. I think the Joe Worrell one could have been. I think when you put your feet that high, you're asking for trouble sometimes. Even if you win the ball or not, it's about endangering the opponent. And if you put your feet that high, I think you're endangering the opponent. So I'm going to disagree with Stuart, even although he thinks it's a man's game. I think that could have been a penalty in my opinion.
I think, see what you're saying there about the Andy Halliday one. I think you could make a case that the Hamilton player was actually endangering himself by stooping down.
But did he? Or the Halliday one? Yeah. I would agree with that. But the Joe Worrell one, the guys.
Nah. The foot's Joe Worrell's foot's high. I hear where Stuart's coming from in that he won the ball, but I'll be honest with you, watching it, I was expecting Nick Walsh's whistle to go both occasions and point to the spot. I was surprised. Certainly the second one. The first one, the Halliday one, I looked at it and I think I can see why he might have let that go. But the second one, I'll be brutally frank, I was absolutely amazed that he didn't point to the spot for that.
Marking down your staunch points, lads.
Yeah, well, no, I'm only getting half a point deducted. David's getting the full point, because if he thought that first one was a penalty, then he's joining the BBC. I think be sitting with Michael Stewart Friday night in the local pub.
Come on, never penalties.
Okay, Rangers DA points increased again. Right, so 4-0 at half time, guys. Game done and dusted. Just a case of seeing it out then and hopefully getting another couple of goals and sort of eating into the goal difference a wee bit. I know we're 8 points behind, but it still helps because you just never know. Early in the second half, Stuart, there was an incident with Andy Halliday and Darren McKinnon, who seems to me thinks he's Scott Brown and models himself in Scott Brown and runs about like he's Scott Brown. I had a wee sort of squint on his Wikipedia page yesterday, and the list of his previous clubs would suggest that he's a fan of Scott Brown. So, but getting to the point and getting to my question, there was a coming together that I thought McKinnon was quite lucky to escape without getting booked. What were your thoughts on it?
I think it's a pound stretcher, Scott Brown. And Scott Brown's
he can't be a pound stretcher, Scott Brown, because Scott Brown's a pound stretcher.
I was going to say that. I was going to say Scott Brown, isn't it? Is actually Spencer himself. So
he's a charity shop, Scott Brown.
That's not too bad. We can agree on that. No, I think again, I've already to say that it was a man's game. I think there's been a bit of verbals between the two of them. I think McKinnon, as is his want, has taken the huff at what something Halliday's said, and he's went across and barged them. I thought the referee dealt with it fairly well. He's took the two of them, stopped the game, took the two of them across and said that's plenty. And after that, the two of them seemed to have a bit of carry on once or twice. They were laughing, and I think I remember McKinnon actually helping Halliday up at one point. So I've been critical of Nick Walsh a few times in the past, and I thought he refereed the game quite well. I think the penalty you mentioned earlier, I thought he did excellent. I actually seen it at the corner of my eye, the guy, Ziggy Gordon, taking out Kent, and the referee did well to pull it back and say there was no advantage for Rangers and gave the penalty. And I thought that was good refereeing. You won't probably hear that in sports scene. So a bit of credit to the referee there. I think he had a decent game yesterday. I thought he dealt all right with that incident. I don't think Halliday was blameless. All right, he never did anything physical, but that was all down to McKinnon. But it was handbags, so no need for any further action in my opinion.
Rangers DA points deducted there, Stuart. Not good enough, I'm afraid. Right, David, going into the second half, as we said earlier on, Davis and Lafferty as well, they've sort of struggled recently. They came on around the hour mark. Lafferty had 3 really good chances and probably should have scored. Finally got his goal, towards the end, sort of a couple of minutes to go. How important is it for him? Because I get the feeling that Gerrard is getting a wee bit frustrated at him, and he needs to be chipping in more. I think that's his first goal since September, but surely it's not good enough for a Rangers striker.
It's a strange one. Bear in mind that he had a perfectly good goal at Dens Park, chalked off for incorrectly calling it offside. And if memory serves me right, was that Nick Walsh that refereed that day? Can't quite remember. But Big Kyle, he's enigmatic, isn't he? To cut the guy a bit of slack, he's coming on for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, probably every 3 games. He's a couple of minor injuries since the turn of the year. I watch him coming onto the park. He's still got that ability about him that he had first time around, and it can be frustrating. But I heard a rumour that the Rangers only paid £200,000 for him, so I think you get what you pay for. He obviously struggled when he was at Carrow Road. They didn't see him featured in their plans. I think he went out and loaned to Birmingham City, and then obviously he's come up the road to Hearts. I don't know. I mean, is Steven Gerrard really frustrated with him? He certainly doesn't criticise him publicly. Maybe that's good management.
He did a couple of weeks ago. He had a wee say that a wee sort of he needs to be doing more, kind of similar to, not as strong, but his words were kind of similar to what he said about Big Sadiq. He needs to be doing more.
Look, fair comment. I mean, the only slack I'd cut him is you can't expect him to be banging goals in if he's only getting 5 and 10 minutes every 3 games. And until fairly recently, that was all he was getting. Then you could ask the question, was he ever good enough to play for Rangers second time round? Debatable. Certainly experienced, knows the story about what's required, but whether he's still got the, whether his brain signals can reach his feet in time is another matter. But
it can reach his phone in time when there's a bit of skirt kicking about Silverburn. So
that's very true, Colin. Not that I'm up to speed on Twitter and Instagram and all that, but could you make a case that could he be moved on in the summer? But what would they get from him? It depends how much they pay him. I mean, is he going to be getting, I don't know, is he over 10k a week? At 10k a week, would you think about swapping out? Aye, possibly. Especially if there's someone else that maybe might be hungrier, and might be looking to make their way in the game. He's obviously the wrong side of 30, or just on 30. So I don't know. He's certainly no set ahead of the light, and I can see why a lot of fans are maybe questioning why he was brought back in the first place.
Well, I think the frustrating thing about him is I thought the form he showed at Hearts was well above what he's showing for us now. I know it's a different pressure playing for Rangers, but I did expect a wee bit more from him, I must admit. But, I suppose we'll see how it goes. But I was quite chuffed that he got his goal yesterday, because I definitely think he needs it. Stuart,
definitely.
The boy Kamara that's come in for Dundee, he seems to have sort of sneaked under the radar. Initially when we were signing him, it was going to be for the summer, then a deal was struck and he arrived in January. And no one really made much fuss about him, because all the focus was on Davis and Defoe. But he seems to be the one that's come in and sort of already made a name for himself. How are you feeling about him?
I think I used the words neat and tidy last week, and I think the same stands this week. I think he's looking good though. I think that's 3 games he's played now, and I think he's getting better with each one. He's moves the ball quicker. He's capable of taking it with either foot. He can, like Jack, his position's good, albeit a bit deeper. And obviously the manager likes him, and the scouting team like him a lot, because they've pushed the boat out to get him early doors, and they've been looking at him for a while. I mean, there's been rumours about him for a good few months before we did sign him. So he's obviously very well liked, and he's got good pedigree. I mean, he was at Arsenal for a good part of his career. So you didn't play down there if you're not a decent player, and he certainly looks the part. Again, is he going to be the one who's the player that wins us titles and cups and takes us into the Champions League? I don't know, but I think the potential's there. There's no reason why he can't get any better. Him and Jack definitely seem to have a good understanding, and it's all good with him so far. And I think I'm sure he'll be in the team again on Wednesday night against his old club. So we'll see how he gets on again then.
Right, I'll put this one to the both of you. Conscious of time now and wanting to get on to the sort of main topic of the Steve Clarke thing. Obviously, Celtic won 4-1 yesterday. We've got the game on Wednesday against Dundee. Celtic are travelling to Tynecastle. Might be a wee opportunity if we do the business that Celtic might drop points. Is that where we are now? It's just like a snooker player hoping for snookers, essentially, just hoping that Celtic dropping off points and we keep doing the business.
Aye, I think so. There's not much else we can do. I mean, obviously we've still got to play them twice ourselves, so if we play like we did at New Year, then there's no reason why we can't take another 6 points off them, but obviously that still gives a balance of 2, so we're certainly needing other teams to do us a favour. And to be fair to Hearts, they've done that a few times over the last few years. They've managed to take points off them, especially at Tynecastle. So as much as Hearts aren't exactly doing fantastic the last week or two, they're still a very tricky team to take on at Tynecastle. And if the Hearts support are up for it like they usually are, then it won't be an easy game for Celtic. To be fair though, to them, I mean, they're playing well. They're banging in the goals just now as well, so they'll be pretty confident. A lot of the chats just now is about whether Rodgers is still going to be there for the rest of the season. So it's certainly going to be interesting. There's a bit of pressure on them to keep winning. We've got to, first and foremost, I think we've got to worry about what we do, and as long as we win on Wednesday, that's the most important thing.
David, if we maintain the sort of standard of performance over the last 2 games, that's 10 goals, 2 games, none conceded, surely we'll win on Wednesday.
I would hope so, Colin. I think, yesterday was the first sign I've seen where Rangers are going to places like New Douglas Park and having to look like slipping up, which was quite refreshing. Yesterday was a change for the norm. Over the last couple of seasons, since we've come back into the Premier League, we've been viewing fixtures like going to New Douglas Park, where could it be tight on that pitch, letting the psychology of the pitch get into our heads, and maybe upsetting group and collective confidence. I think yesterday you seen, obviously it was helped with the 2 quick fire goals, but no disrespect to Hamilton, Rangers shouldn't be going to New Douglas Park and fearing playing against Hamilton Academical. And if we can take that into games with the likes of Dundee, certainly at home, St Mirren, bottom of the table sides who have not got the standard of player to maybe make a kind of low block in terms of tactics from the opposing manager work as well as it might with the likes of maybe St Johnstone, to a lesser extent at Motherwell. Then we should be looking at teams that are for maybe mid-table down, and especially at home, looking to just put them away. A couple of goals, early doors. We should be, certainly at home, against these sides, we should be 2-0 up at half-time. We should be back to the way it was in the mid-90s. And these teams should bring no fear for Rangers teams whatsoever, in my opinion. And yesterday was the first instance where you thought, right, this Rangers side look as if they mean business. They're going about their business in a ruthless fashion, and they're putting teams away. And that we want to be taking that in to the game of Wednesday night against Dundee.
Obviously, the game on Sunday there followed on from the Killie game. Now, I was actually quite nervous about the Kilmarnock game, but it turned out to be fairly routine. 5-0 win, 4 goals for Morelos. He returned after his suspension. A quick yes or no from the 2Es on the sending off for Daniel Bachmann, the Killie goalkeeper.
Yep, undoubtedly. At the time, I didn't think so when I first seen it, but once you see the replay that I think it was Sports Scene showed, ironically, I think it was pretty clear they elbowed Kamara, far too much force, and clear red card.
David?
I never seen it in real time, Colin. I was sitting in a different part of the ground from where I normally sit, and the chap sat next to me was talking to me, so I never actually seen it. I saw the replays on I think it was the BBC website, or might have been the SPFL YouTube channel, and they looked like a clear movement towards Kamara's face. He obviously goes down and makes a meal of it. I think in today's climate, it's probably a straight red card.
So why was it rescinded?
This is it. Well, you look at it and you think, it was part of me was thinking, is that? I mean, are we going to be sending off people for that on a weekly basis? Are games getting re-refereed? But I think the game in this country is, you despair it at times. This whole compliance nonsense, tit for tat, fighting on press conferences and whatnot. It's just, it's crazy. I mean, what about you? Do you think it was a sending off?
At the time, I heard a wee bit of commotion from just behind the goal and at the Brimlin Road end, that obviously supporters there had seen something, and then you seen the Stramash, thought what's going on there. So like you, I never seen it at the time, and I got home, the first image I seen of it, the first sort of clip on Sports Scene was, I thought, that looks pretty bad, that shouldn't be a red card. But then the second angle, as Stuart says, you see a clear, he lifts his elbow up and a clear sort of elbow in the face, and I don't think Kamara goes down and makes the most of it. I think he takes one in the face. So I think once you see that angle, it's a clear red, and why it was rescinded, I've got no idea. But hey, as you say, we're living in this sort of crazy re-refereeing sort of society at the moment.
What's
that? Sorry.
Wait till VAR kicks in.
Well, aye. It'll be even worse. So don't get me started on VAR. If Pete was on the night, we'd be arguing for about 3 hours on VAR.
See, Colin, sorry to cut across you, but I mean, I was giving McGregor a bit of criticism last week about his red card and saying it's a bit of gamesmanship. McGregor, he knew exactly what he was doing, and I think he did. So I think the red card for McGregor, possibly a bit harsh, but I don't think there's a lot of arguing about it. And Backman's exactly the same. He knew exactly what he was doing. He tried to leave a bit on Kamara. There was a lot of force there, and I have no idea how it was rescinded. It's utterly bamboozling how this system's working now. One player gets cited, another player doesn't. One player gets cited for exactly the same thing, another one gets it rescinded. It's utter nonsensical.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you on the McGregor thing. I think, the referee could have taken action on the night. However, he didn't, and he's seen it. The images you've seen, there's a good image kicking about in social media. Who was the referee that night? Madden. Was it Bobby Madden? Right.
Bobby Madden.
He was looking right at that incident, and he seen it. So the SFA issued a sort of statement last week trying to, talk about this compliance thing to sort of quell the fire around it. And within that statement, it says the rules are, if the referee sees an incident and he's happy no action should be taken, the compliance officer does not get involved. So why did the compliance officer get involved with McGregor? Because it's not the decision. I think the punishment, if the referee had seen it, would have been the correct punishment. But the referee has seen it. It's retrospective refereeing of the game. You're right, David.
I think it's retrospectively deeming it to be violent conduct. That's the whole thing. I mean, see, it's interesting going back to Pittodrie, because had obviously the kind of refereeing furore was quite live in people's mindset then. I think there was a conscious decision not to undermine the referee, whereas obviously a couple of weeks had elapsed with the Bachmann incident, and I think that obviously Stevie Clarke's campaign about his players been unfairly treated had actually borne through it. I think what Stuart's saying about a clear gesture towards Kamara's face, and as you've echoed, there's definite force there, and I think that it gave them an out, the fact that a few weeks had elapsed and they could then go back, look at it and say, well, does that constitute excessive violent force? And they obviously came to the bizarre decision that it wasn't. And there's just that, as Stuart's saying there, the lack of consistency is absolutely flabbergasting. And you look at it, people, not that a lot of them would necessarily look into the kind of politics of Scottish football, but if anybody was, an external observer, they must be looking at our game and thinking, God, what a joke that country has and how they run their football.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Has someone got the YouTube thing running in the background? Because I'm getting a bit of feedback here. No. Hello? Okay, right.
No.
I was getting a bit of feedback coming back. Now getting past Kilmarnock, it sets up a quarter-final tie against Aberdeen on Sunday. If we get past that, possible semi-finalists include Celtic, Hibs, Dundee United, Inverness, Caley Thistle, Partick Thistle, or Hearts. Going to be a tricky game on Sunday, guys. But if we get past that, is it looking good?
Yep. Don't see why not. We can beat any of these teams. We've shown we can beat Aberdeen away from home. We should have beat them in the first game of the season. We're quite unlucky just to come away with a draw, but obviously we beat them the other week there and fairly comfortably at that. After Morelos got sent off, I don't think we played too well. When we both went down to 10 men, I thought we were a bit overly defensive, but possibly understandably so. It wasn't obviously injury time that Defoe made it a bit more comfortable for us all, but yeah, there's no reason why we can't go up to Aberdeen and beat them again. It won't be an easy game. Of that, there's no doubt. If we can get past them, then it's clearly you want to try and keep Celtic for the final, but we're going to have to play them at some point. So it doesn't really concern me when or where, because if this Rangers team turn up and play as well as we do, or as capable as of we are, then there's no reason why we can't go win this trophy. And I'd like to think this is the message that the manager's trying to get through to these players, that they are capable, they are good enough, and they need to start showing it, and they need to keep showing it consistently.
David, now competition rules in the Scottish Cup state that the home club should provide 20% of the ticket allocation. Now Aberdeen have come out with a bit of a shitey excuse and said they can only provide 10%, so we're only getting 2,000 tickets. This just seems like more nonsense from them, no?
Definitely. It's tedious, it's tiresome. We only get 2,000 briefs for Pittodrie. I mean, the place will be like a morgue. It's quite enough with 4,000 of our fans singing for 90 minutes. Especially when you hear how TV camera microphones are pointed away for our fans. So it's strangely mute, the singing at Pittodrie when we visit there these days. But that's another story for another day. But it's just, you could put the kettle on for it. Aberdeen, they pander to an element of the support. It's the Scottish Cup. They're trying to, they're using lame excuses to try and build in an advantage. I'm just waiting, to see what underhand tactics Derek comes up with for this one. I'm expecting a kicking match. I don't think there's any level at any of his players, especially some of the Celtic-minded ones that are on his side, I don't think there's any level that will stoop to in order to try and get some of your players sent off. I'm not sure who the referee will be, but I think it'll be a very, very difficult game. Having said that, though, I think if we turn up with the right mindset and we look to go and impose ourselves, I think we should come away from Pittodrie in the hat for the semi-final draw.
Do we think the photographs will still be on the dressing room wall of Aberdeen's victories over Rangers in the past, like they've done the last time?
Possibly. I think this is our dressing room.
I don't think it was in the dressing room, but when they arrived, they had taken down, photos for like victory in Gothenburg and winning trophies and all that kind of thing, and replaced them with photos from the semi-final victory in October in the League Cup against us. And then obviously when Rangers went on and won that night, our response was to turn the music up and have a wee sing-song in the dressing room. And Derek McInnes spits the dummy out again and comes in and says, "Turn that down."
It's just that kind of juvenile behaviour sums them up. It sums a large element of their support up. And Derek, being a blue nose for this neck of the woods, certainly my neck of the woods,
he's keeping very bad company these days.
Well, he's pandering to a section of their support. He's keen to paint himself out as an Aberdeen man these days. Whether he's actually been truthful with himself, I know that's a different matter. But that kind of lowest common denominator behaviour. We'll see what happens after 25 and Sunday. We'll see how chipper they all are.
Yeah. Right, guys, let's go on to the Stevie Clarke thing. Obviously, he had a bit of a meltdown, I think is the best way of describing it, after the game on Wednesday night. Now, I'll go on record here, and I think I went out on social media and said this at the time, can't condone, and I won't condone, the songs or the song that was aimed at Stevie Clarke, that was of a sectarian nature. However, I think the thing that troubles us all, Stuart, is the selective nature of when he gets offended and when he doesn't get offended. The most obvious example being Chris Boyd, who suffered similar abuse last Sunday against Celtic and was also struck with a coin. On that, he remained silent. On Wednesday, he was practically bubbling at one point, I think, in that press conference.
I've got a lot of time for Steve Clarke. I think he's a good manager. I think the job he's done with Kilmarnock over the last 2 years has been fantastic. I think he's got a fairly ordinary bunch of players, Scotty players, and inherited them actually, quite a lot of them for Lee McCulloch, who struggled to do anything there as a manager, and he's really turned it around for them, and to be in the top 3, top 4 over the last couple of years is good going. You only need to look at the size of their crowds to show that they've no money, they've not got a big support. So I think in terms of his management qualities, I rate him highly, and it wouldn't surprise me to any of us. I think probably if he's an ex-Celtic manager, if Rodgers does go down to Leicester City, with that in mind, has that had a bearing on the way he's been acting recently? Possibly. I think more likely is the fact that it's actually the going's getting a bit tough. His team's lost form. I think we're 9 points in front of them now, 8 points in front of them now in the league. They've no won in a while. They're conceding goals, and they're out of the cup. And I think it was look, there's a squirrel to take attention away from himself. Neil Lennon's done it before. Most managers will create some sort of diversion to take the heat off themselves, and I think that was an easy diversion. You're right, Colin. The song's silly. Is it sectarian? Grudgingly, I suppose so. But it's petty. It's school ground stuff. If somebody says that to you, you just ignore people that say that crap to you. I'm sure we all get it at our work, get at the pub. Do we take the huff and want to release statements and all the rest of it when it happens? No, we just go and drink our pint in another part of the pub. It's getting beyond a joke, and for him to come out with it after what happened to Boyd was especially worse. And then the coverage obviously since has been seized upon by the usual suspects with glee, and they just won't acknowledge, refuse to even concede that they said nothing just 3 days previous to what happened at Ibrox with Boyd at Rugby Park, and it's really, really frustrating. It's for the club, I've got a bit of sympathy for them, because clearly our fans don't help themselves for time. But it's like, I mean, if you're at school when you're younger and somebody in your class got done for talking and somebody else didn't, it used to get quite annoying, because it was always the there was lads in my class that always got blamed for stuff and it wasn't them, and then there was guys that maybe were a bit better academically or good at the sports, and they get away with it. So it does happen, and this is what's happening just now. It's easy. Rangers are a punch bag. Any negative story or can be manufactured or can be exaggerated, and that's exactly what's happening. I mean, to their credit, Dave King came out, gave a statement. It was quite clear in condemning the fans, and that's fine. Celtic said absolutely nothing about their fans. They weren't asked anything. The manager wasn't asked anything, and this is where it's getting beyond the joke. I mean, they're talking about strict liability, and again, I can understand that. They want to try and find a solution, but the issues we've got right now with the compliance officer will only be magnified tenfold if they bring strict liability in, because once again, the focus will be on Rangers. It won't be on Celtic with their IRA songs. It won't be on other teams going about Huns or the rest of it. It'll be Rangers, Rangers, Rangers. And this is why I didn't fancy strict liability.
David, Stuart's kind of come on to my next point. You know, the sort of media reaction, you know, when Boyd was, you know, hit with the coin, and at the same time he was suffering the sectarian abuse, Andy Walker was kind of laughing about it, saying, oh, Boydie loves it and all that kind of thing. Graham Spears, suspiciously quiet on it, never tweeted, never commented on it publicly. All the rest of them remained, you know, silent on the issue. It was a non-issue. All of these people became very vocal when Steve Clarke spoke up on Wednesday, you know, and that's my greatest concern. It kind of echoes what Stuart's just said there now, you know, this call for strict liability and all that kind of thing. Now, if the compliance officer is an example of how things will go, you know, Celtic have had, as we spoke last week in the pod, Celtic haven't had any players cited retrospectively. Rangers have had 9 players cited retrospectively. If that's the lay of the land, you know, and if the media, you know, Stuart Robertson spoke last week, he issued a statement talking about trial by sports scene and all the rest of it. If the media are driving a sort of narrative that says that this is a bigger problem for Rangers than it is for Celtic, to the extent that whenever Celtic do it, it's a non-issue, then if it comes to fines and points deduction, it's not a level playing field. And that's my biggest concern about it. That the media, the narrative around this suggests that this is exclusively a Rangers problem. I'm not here to deny that Rangers have a problem. They obviously do. But they're not the only club that has a problem in this issue. So that's my concern about it. You know, the narrative that's getting driven is one this is exclusively Rangers. And if strict liability comes in, I feel that's how the lay of the land will be. You know, whenever we do something, we'll get whacked.
I would agree with that. Yeah, again, you see the sectarian industry has reared its ugly head in the last week. The hypocrisy of Clarke, neatly sidestepping the question when it was put to him, said he only wanted to discuss football matters. We want to slighten his club captain. That's been for Chris Boyd. He must sit there that those joint press conferences and wonder about him. You say that you mentioned there that the media reaction, Andy Walker, Graham Spears. I mean, it's the usual omerta where, you know, Brown, their fans are concerned. You know, they're strangely silent. And then if somebody pipes up and says, well, what about Celtic? You know, it's the whataboutery is usually dismissed. I mean, there's various culprits. Stuart Cosgrove being one, Tom English being another. And as you say, you mentioned there, the usual suspects, Andy Walker and Graham Spears. It's a complex issue. You've got Stuart Robertson there, as you mentioned, coming out last week talking about travel by sports scene.
I have to say, sorry to cut across, David. I thought Robertson's statement last week was really, really good. I've been a bit critical of him in the past, but I thought he nailed it on the head last week.
Well, I've not actually, I've not looked at it in any great detail. I've only just basically seen the kind of the aftermath of it. Obviously, I was aware that, you know, that he'd put a statement out and the BBC were firmly in his crosshairs. But interestingly enough, Jim Traynor spoke to Club 1872 on their YouTube channel and he drew the Rangers support's attention to the fact that a 25-minute interview was cut for a 9-second segment on Reporting Scotland or various BBC Scotland platforms where it may have been used for radio as well. And he has asked the fans to demand parity of esteem from the BBC. Now, obviously, with BBC having the sole highlights rights other than Sky and probably BT Sport, I'm saying, but in terms of terrestrial rights, no Scottish Sport any longer. Rangers as a club have a conduit to the public at large denied to them through this ongoing impasse with Pacific Quay. Now, when you're talking there about who's setting the narrative, this narrative has already been cast in stone. It's been embellished on a weekly basis. I don't know if any of you guys picked up on the BBC web platform. There was a bit of fallout on Twitter between a Hearts player and John McGinn for a bit of contextual background. The Lee Wallace grass story in the aftermath of the Scottish Cup final in 2016 was brought in. It had absolutely nothing at all to do with the Twitter spat between John McGinn and the guy from Hearts. And yet again, it's just another of the weekly barrage with regards to setting an agenda and forming a narrative which Rangers will only suffer from. And when you're talking about strict liability, sectarianism in the industry means that there's only a one-way street. There's never a two-way street. I mean, you look at Celtic fans that are out in Spain, torching pubs in Benidorm, fighting with cops. You're not hearing a peep in sports scene about that. And it's only going to be another instance of, as Stuart said there, we'll be the target, full square, and it'll be, if not driven by certain clubs within the country, it'll certainly be condoned by them.
Well, you make an interesting point because, I mean, Clark's picked a week where there's obvious examples out there of how one's getting reported on and one's not. Obviously, Stevie Clark makes his comments. The usual suspect's going to overdrive. In the same week, there was incidents that you were talking about. There was a Rangers pub in Benidorm, which was torched by the Celtic fans who were over for the Valencia game. There was the footage, I don't know if the two of you seen this, the footage of this 5-year-old boy in a sort of Celtic club somewhere singing the Jimmy Bell song. He's got his mic in hand, belting it out, 5-year-old, giving it the full Orange Bastards, all that kind of stuff. Hardly a peep. Nothing on that. You know what I mean? And all this narrative, all this talk about this issue, that obviously is a problem in Scotland. But again, it comes down to this. It's all one way. All these incidents that have happened this week, the wee boy singing about Jimmy Bell, Chris Boyd getting sectarian abuse, pubs getting torched. None of that's really coming to light. It's all what those 200, 300 Rangers fans said in the sort of section, the singing section at Ibrox on Wednesday night. And again, coming back to the strict liability thing, that's when you fear, where is this going? If they want to bring this in, if the narrative is how it is just now, as you've just said there, David, to me, there's only one club's going to suffer. And that's it. That no one else is going to bear the brunt on this.
Well, who's going to lead the charge for us in the media? At BBC Scotland, is it going to be Derek Ferguson on the radio or Stevie Thompson on the television? Who's going to go into bat for Rangers? It's not going to be any of the guys.
No, I know.
They've got their paymasters. They've got their salaries to make and maintain, and they're not going to rock the boat.
Sure. Now, you spoke earlier on about the statement from Dave King. Now, he did actually receive a bit of praise for it. A lot of people within the media had sort of said, this was a sort of stronger statement than what Rangers normally come out with. Putting that to one side, in terms of this issue, which does keep coming up. Now the whole I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. I've sung in my younger days. I've sung a lot of these songs, the Billy Boys and all the rest of it. because that's what you done, right? As I got a wee bit older, around about my mid-20s, I started to think, I don't know if I quite enjoy this so much. Sort of binned it. I go to the games with my boy now. That's not even on the agenda, they kind of songs. So, the way I view it is, the example I always use is the smoking ban. There's plenty of smokers out there who disagree that they're not allowed to smoke in pubs, but they live by the sort of rule of the land. They say that's the lay of the land these days. I don't think it's right, but I need to adhere to it. I sometimes struggle to get my head around the supporters that indulge in this, because it just brings up everything we've just spoke about, all the negative publicity. Now, the debate as to whether these songs should be sung or not sung, and I believe there is a debate for that, is a separate debate. To me, you have to box clever, you have to look at the lay of the land, and as a Rangers supporter, you have to think, well, what's best for my club? What is best for Rangers Football Club? Is it best for me to sing these songs and bring the club under the spotlight, or is it best for me to avoid them and let that shower out of the road embarrass themselves? Because I think that's what would happen. And I don't understand the mentality of supporters who keep indulging in this stuff. This thing of, it's songs we've always sung and all the rest of it, I get that. But the fact of the matter is, the lay of the land now means whenever we indulge in this stuff, we cop it. It causes the club problems. So how do we deal with it? How do we get rid of it?
I'm not convinced to do get rid of it. Certainly not for a while yet. I think Rangers is different to everybody. To you, right? It's different to the Orangemen in the west coast of Glasgow. It's different. It manifests themselves in some songs that you or I might not sing, but these guys do. And are they offensive? Some might be. Are they sectarian? Some might be. Again, I don't think songs like this are straight up sectarianism. This isn't Iraq and Iran or Pakistan or India where you see genuine sectarianism where people are at war over it. It's over religion. It's a bit petty, all this stuff. I don't think it really exists in Scotland so much anymore. But so I think for the most part it has been eradicated. I don't think the odd song at the football is the end of the world. In saying that, if I do agree, I think we do probably have to try and get rid of the more contentious stuff where we can, and I think we've made good strides on that. I mean, rightly or wrongly, we had to get rid of the Billy Boys, and it's very rare now that you hear that song. So it does work if you get punished for it. So I think eventually that it's got to come down the line that the club are going to get punished more often if these type of songs are sung. So I think eventually that if that does happen, they will die a death. The problem you've got, and the problem we've had over the last 15 years, I mean, you can go back to 2006 when we got banned, so we got fined by UEFA for the Billy Boys, and that song got removed. That's over 12 years ago now, and a lot of people say that, well, get rid of that, then we'll sort of whatever. We'll turn our attentions to Celtic, and we'll get rid of this, and we'll get rid of that. Celtic fans sing exactly the same song. They talk about Huns, they talk about Orange Bastards, they talk about the IRA, and nothing's done for them. There's no attention on them. So I don't buy the argument that if we clean up our house, okay, they'll start looking across the Clyde to Celtic Park. I don't think that'll happen. And if it doesn't happen, the songs are just going to creep back. I mean, this is where fans are. They'll push. It's young lads, not always young lads, but it's a manifestation of working class people that are wanting to rage
it's
against
the class identity at the end of the day.
Aye, that's right, and rage against the man in the big house, and that's what it comes down to. And these type of things, there'll be peaks and troughs with it. And I think if you make a big deal of it, people will just react even more and say, "Look at me, I'm the big man." And laugh with their pals and say, "Look, I'll sing this," and badge honour and all the rest of it to get lifted by the police. And instead, when you're a bit older and you realise you've got a mortgage and kids and a wife and all the rest of it, the last thing you want to do is be in Helen Street Station over the weekend and try to explain to your boss why you were on sports scene singing about a football manager being a sad Fenian bastard. It doesn't really work. I think we all reach that stage in our life where we understand that. But I think we come back to the argument we've been having for the last 10, 15 minutes now, that until there's a level playing field in every single part of sectarianism or bigotry or whatever you want to call it, whether it's just offensive behaviour or unacceptable conduct, until there's a level playing field, you'll never get rid of it.
David, is maybe part of the issue here, I'll give you the last shout on the night, conscious of time, is maybe part of the issue here the way that the Celtic supporters have sort of cleverly changed how their songs are presented. They give it the whole, our songs are political songs, they're not sectarian. I think that has changed because, again, your usual commentators within the media, your Spears, your Tom English, that's a narrative that they've been pushing. That the songs that the Celtic fans sing are political, they're not sectarian. So is that how they've managed to sort of go under the radar on this, and therefore the spotlight's falling on us now?
That's always been the case, Colin, as long as I can remember. It's their cause has always been a romantic one. It's always been political. Ours has just been sectarian. Knuckle dragging, royalist, all that carrying on, all the connotations that attaches to it. I don't think that they've been any cuter. All I think now is that the media is overwhelmingly sides with the other ticket, whereas in the past we were always, people always pointed the finger at us and say, they're the establishment club, they're on the BBC, they're on various media outlets, they're on newspapers, etc., etc. I think that's, if it's not entirely swung the opposite direction, that it's certainly any perceived inequity with regards to the lie of the land culturally within the media. It's certainly 50-50 if it's not actually swung the other way. So, the whole thing about it is that there's just no parity of esteem. I mean, the effigies at Celtic Park, that was, leaving aside the fact that the fiscal botched it, very little said about that. You look at anti-sectarian steering groups and committees in Holyrood, that's all populated by Celtic supporting MSPs, largely. They drive the agenda. So, I mean, it filters down into, kind of crazy stuff like Shireen Nanjiani's radio show. Angela Haggerty's on it, and she's only got to prescribe one agenda. There's never going to be equality in terms of how both, leaving it, with both sets of fans. There's not going to be equity, there's not going to be balance. And until that's the case, going back to the previous point that Stuart answered, maybe the boys that are singing this stuff are looking at the larger picture. Not that I condone this or, in any way, shape or form. Maybe they're looking like that. Look, they're going to hammer us, whatever. We might as well get our kids worth in, And yes, it might be boneheaded defiance, burnout or whatever superiority complex you care to mention, but until there's actually, balance in how everyone's treated, and that goes for any other club for that matter. I mean, it could be sectarianism between Hearts and Hibs, which doesn't seem to get the same level of scrutiny. And there is, despite a lot of misconceptions, there is sectarianism there, which is swept under the carpet in the Scottish media, mainstream media, in my opinion, to a large extent. But until there's a level playing field and there's a political will amongst the influencers and the decision makers, then you're going to have this, sectarianism industry continuing ad infinitum, and Rangers will get pardon the French here, the dirty end of the stick, and it'll continue to happen, in my opinion, Colin.
Well, it's hard to disagree. It really is, David. I can't disagree with that at all. But I think just looking at the time there, I think we need to wrap things up tonight. So a big thanks to you, David, and a big thanks to you, Stuart, for your contributions tonight. Excellent as always. That's it for episode 33 of the weekly Gersnet podcast, and our second live edition Hope you enjoyed it. I hope that the couple of early technical issues didn't ruin your listen too much. If you enjoyed the podcast, as I said at the start of the show, please subscribe and share on social media, all those kind of things. Tonight's show will be available to stream or download on the platforms that I mentioned earlier on. A big thanks to our sound engineer Graham, although he's kind of redundant now we've went live. He doesn't have anything to edit. He just sort of he picks up his money for nothing. Actually, now and I think about it, I'll need to have a word with Stuart about that. There'll be a show out next week. Obviously, we've got Dundee on Wednesday night in the league and the big game at Pittodrie on Sunday in the Scottish Cup. We'll cover those two things next week in the podcast. In the meantime, get yourself onto the forums at Gersnet at www.gersnet.co.uk. Plenty of fellow Rangers fans on there, good articles, good stuff. It's all brilliant on there, guys. Trust me, get yourself on it. So in the meantime, and until the next time, thanks for joining us.